Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back in lecture number 20. And before we go into our today's topic, let's have a look at what we studied in our previous lecture. We have a summary of that. We discussed the capital budgeting. In fact, previously we studied about the working capital, that is current assets and current liabilities, and after that we shifted our attention towards the long-term type of investments, that is capital budgeting, where the cash flows that result from that investment, they are more than 1 year. They are for more than 1 year. In our previous lecture, we covered the topics, the capital budgeting and the steps involved in capital budgeting process, that how a process of capital budgeting starts, that the first of all idea or proposal is started from very micro level, maybe from the marketing department, from production department, from the sales department, and then gradually it moves upward. And the procedure to generate long-term project proposals within the firm, कि किस तरह से फर्म में जो प्रोजेक्ट प्रपोजल है, it is generated from which level and how it travels up to the board of directors. And the idea behind that कि इसमें इतने ज़्यादा स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्व होते चले जाएंगे, जितना कैश आउटले ज़्यादा होगा, जितनी इन्वेस्टमेंट का साइज़ बड़ा होगा, उतने ही ज़्यादा लोग इसमें इन्वॉल्व होंगे टू मेक इट टू द फाइनल डिसीजन. एंड वी आल्सो डिस्कस्ड दैट व्हाई कैश फ्लोज नॉट द इनकम फ्लोज are the most relevant to capital budgeting decisions. That is, the income flows, in fact there might be an income when we prepare our projected income statement for the coming years when we are going to start any new project, but in the meanwhile if we don't care about the cash flows, so we might run out of cash in the process. So if a firm runs out of cash, so whole processes, they are disturbed. So in that case, firms, they have to go default. And keep in mind, most of the small businesses, they fail because they are not able to grasp that what is their cash flow for the coming few periods of time. And then we discussed the idea of sunk cost, के किसी भी proposal के साथ जो उस पे working की जाती है, that has some cost on it, and if that idea is rejected, that proposal is not accepted, तो उसके ऊपर जो भी cost आएगी, that is sunk cost. It is not going to be added into the new proposal. For new proposal there will be new cost, but for the proposal which is not used, which is abandoned, all cost attached to it is a sunk cost. And whereas we take into account the opportunity cost. For example, if we are going to take up any new project and at the same time we are going to lose something, maybe we are going to replace the existing project. So existing project के साथ जो benefits associated होंगे, they are the opportunity cost. So we have to take into consideration those opportunity costs. And then we discussed the tax considerations as well as depreciation for tax purposes, and it affects capital budgeting cash flows. We started with the cost savings or the incremental revenues and we deducted depreciation. So when we deduct depreciation, we get an income where the tax can be applied. That is income before tax, change in the income before tax. So on that income, tax is applied. So depreciation provides us a cushion from the tax. So here there are different bases have been discussed to calculate the depreciation. For example, the straight line method, and also we studied the MACRS, which is modified accelerated cost recovery system. And this system in fact provides higher expenses as far as depreciation is concerned. So when we attach higher depreciation expenses, it would mean there is more tax cushion available. Okay, and then we get the change in income after tax and we add back the depreciation which we deducted before, so to get the final cash flow. So that is the cash flow which we will be using in our capital budgeting processes, and our decisions will be made on these cash inflows. And in our previous chapter हमने इन cash flows को simply calculate किया था, all the incremental cash flows, and in this chapter we are going to analyze using different methods how the firm can take a decision using these cash flows. So in our first part of chapter number 13, which is about capital budgeting techniques, we will be discussing the learning outcomes after studying this chapter are that first of all you will be able to understand the payback period method, and so you will be able to understand the payback period method of project evaluation and selection, including its calculation and acceptance criterion, advantages and disadvantages, and focus on liquidity rather than profitability. And next you will be able to understand the three major discounted cash flow methods. We know them as that they are very much important for the project evaluation and selection, internal and selection. They are the internal rate of return, the discounted cash flow methods. One of them is internal rate of return. The second one is net present value. The third one we will be using as profitability index. And we will be having some practice using some problems as well. And also you will be able to explain the calculation, acceptance criterion and advantages over the payback period method for each of the three major discounted cash flow methods. अब इसमें payback period method जो है उसके against हमारे पास जो discounted cash flow methods हैं, they are more advantageous for the firm. They will take us to a better position where the firm, the management can decide whether to take up the new proposal or to reject it. So in this chapter we will be covering following topics. First of all, the project evaluation and selection, the potential difficulties, capital rationing, project monitoring, post completion audit. And in this today's lecture we are going to discuss the capital budgeting techniques as far as the payback period method is concerned, and also the discounted cash flow methods like internal rate of return, net present value and profitability index. So let's take up one by one. So first of all, what data we have, the proposed project data. So let's take it as an example that Mr. A is evaluating a new project for his firm. He has determined that after tax cash flows for the project will be 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, 10,000 and 7,000. So there are 5 years and there are 5 cash flows for the year 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then for each of the year 1 through 5, the initial cash outlay will be 40,000. So it means in the beginning there is an investment proposal of 40,000 and the proposed cash flows which are we calculated in our previous lecture, that is incremental cash flows, they are given for the 5 years. So now we have to look into the payback periods and then the discounted cash flows. And before that, let me explain you what is an independent project. So for this any project, there may be more than one project a firm is considering at the same time. अब उसमें अगर तो the projects जो हैं they are interdependent, यानी approval of one will lead to the disapproval or rejection of the other one. They may be called as mutually exclusive. And when we talk about independent projects, it means that each and every project which is being considered at the time is considered independently, and rejection or exception of one proposal doesn't affect the status of the other proposal. So here we assume that it is an independent of any other potential projects that firm may undertake. And now we have to calculate the payback period for the example we quoted in our previous slide. So you can see here the initial cash outflow, that is $40,000, and after that at the end of every year for the next 5 years firm is receiving 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, 10,000 and 7,000. So we can plot it on a time scale. So here the payback period is the period of time required for the cumulative expected cash flows from an investment project to equal the initial cash outflow. अब आइडिया इसमें यह है कि जो इनिशियल कैश आउटफ्लो है दैट इज़ $40,000, अब उसको कितने अरसे में रिकवर किया जाए, दैट इज़ द पे बैक पीरियड, यानी एट व्हाट टाइम आफ्टर द प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट्स फर्म को अपना जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है दैट इज़ रिकवर्ड बैक. एंड लेट्स सी कि फर्म रिकवर्स 10,000 at the end of first year and 12,000 at the end of second year. So the cumulative cash which has been received, the cash inflow has become 22,000 at the second year. And then the third year, the cash inflow is 15,000. So cumulative cash flow becomes 37, and we have to make it to $40,000. So now we need another $3,000, but in this year we are going to receive $10,000. So we divide $10,000 over a period of 1 year, and then we calculate کہ ہمیں کتنے عرصے میں $3,000 more ہم جو ہے وہ ریسیو ہو جائیں گے. It's very simple. You simply take the required amount which is going to make up our payback period equal to our initial cash outflow, and then we divide it with 10, the total cash received in that year. So that will make up our time to recover the required amount. So here in this case also you can simply calculate it by assigning different characters like A, B, C. For example, on third year we have received 37,000, and after that we enter into fourth year, or fourth year ke kitne time mein, kitne months mein the firm is going to receive back the all invested cash outflow, which is $40,000. So here you can see A is the 3 years plus, now we are going to calculate the fraction of the fourth year جس پوائنٹ پہ فرم کو اپنا ٹوٹل کیش آؤٹ لے ریسیو ہو جائے گا. سو بی از دا کیش آؤٹ فلو ان دا بگننگ مائنس سی, دیٹ از دا کیومولیٹو کیش فلو. اٹ ول گیو اس a figure equal to 3,000, which is in fact the figure, the amount required to make it to 40,000. So B is 40,000 minus cumulative cash inflow of 37,000 will make it to 3,000. So here the total cash flow for that period is, we denoted it with D, and it is 10,000. So you can use this equation and you can solve it for 3.3 years. So here the payback period is 3.3 years, and the firm will be receiving after that an extra cash flows, that is additional cash flows during the remaining 0.7 years of the fourth year and full 1 year of the fifth year. And also you can solve it like this, that the initial cash outflow is 40,000, and then when you receive 10,000 you minus it out from your initial cash outflow. So now you have in cumulative cash outflow which is 30,000 now, and then when you receive another 12,000 for the next year or the second year, your cash outflow becomes 18,000, and after at the end of fourth year, at the end of third year, so it should be 3 here in fact, and 4 is here and 5 is here. So at the end of third year firm is receiving 15,000, so it will make the cash outflow net figure equal to 3,000. Now this 3,000 has to be recovered from the fourth year, that is starting from the third year and to the fourth year. So in this case firm is receiving 10,000, so half is here, that is 5,000 will be somewhere here, and 3,000 you can calculate it even using this scale, and also you can see the same figure is same. So using these different methods you are going to calculate the payback period. So in fact they will be the same. And now we come to the acceptance criteria. So is it acceptable for the firm or not? So the management of the firm has set a maximum payback period of 3.5 years. So while making a proposal, management نے اس کو طے کیا تھا کہ if the project pays back within 3.5 years, it means that we will accept the proposal. But in our case, in this example, the payback period is 3.3 years, which is less than the required payback period. So here the project should be accepted as far as the payback period method is concerned. And then it has some strengths and there are some weaknesses as well. So the strength is that it is easy to use and understand. As you see, it's quite simple. and then can be used as a measure of liquidity. इसमें फर्म अपने liquidity के हिसाब से देख सकती है कि उसके पास liquidity position at different levels of time period वो क्या है, and then easier to forecast ST than LT flows. And there are some weaknesses attached to this method. In case of payback period method, it doesn't account for time value of money. So you could see there in our example that cash flows, they are accounted for every year, like after 1 year, after 2 years, even after 5 years. So but the present value of all those cash flows has not been counted for, and it doesn't consider cash flows beyond the payback period. And another problem here is that after reaching the cash payback period, it doesn't consider what is the cash flow position after that. For example, agar cash flows they are declining after that, maybe like in our example, even in the 5th year, the cash flow was only $7,000. So in the beginning years, it was 10, 12, 15, and in the last year, it was 7,000. So it doesn't consider the cash flows in the periods after the payback period. And the cutoff period is subjective. So the cutoff period is important for the firm, and then the firm doesn't pay enough attention after that. And then we come to the next technique, which is discounted cash flow method. So in this method, we are going to, first of all, we are going to consider the internal rate of return. So internal rate of return is the discount rate that equates the present value of the future net cash flows from an investment project with the project's initial cash outflow. अब इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न क्या है कि एक ऐसा डिस्काउंट रेट जिस पे अगर फर्म अपने फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज को डिस्काउंट करे टू द प्रेजेंट वैल्यू, तो उस प्रेजेंट वैल्यूज को अगर आप एड अप करें फॉर ईच एंड एवरी कैश फ्लो, सो इफ इट इज़ इक्वल टू द इनिशियल कैश आउट फ्लो जो इन्वेस्टमेंट की गई है इनिशियली, अगर हमारे जो द कमिंग फ्यूचर में जो कैश फ्लोज हैं उनकी प्रेजेंट वैल्यू यूजिंग द इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न, अगर हमारा इन्वेस्टमेंट और प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ कैश फ्लोज बिकम्स इक्वल, so that is the rate we call it internal rate of return. So this rate will suggest कि अगर इस रेट से हम इसमें कमी या बेशी करें या इसमें इसको इस रेट के ऊपर अगर फर्म को अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट रिकवर हो रही है, and any rate where the present value is less than the initial cash outflow, where it is, for example, if the initial cash outflow is 100,000, और अगर आप present value कैलकुलेट करें under any internal rate of return, और अगर वो हमारी initial cash outflow से कम आए, it means कि that rate is not acceptable. It is not internal rate of return. So internal rate of return वही है जिसके ऊपर अगर आप अपने future cash flows को डिस्काउंट करें और आप जो प्रेजेंट वैल्यू कैलकुलेट करें फॉर ऑल दोज फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज, तो आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट और सम ऑफ ऑल दोज फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज इक्वल आ जाएं. दैट इज द इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न, एंड दैट इज द मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट कि फर्म किसी प्रपोजल को एक्सेप्ट या रिजेक्ट करेगी. So you can see here the initial cash outflow, we denoted it with ICO, and cash flow in the first year we discounted it with using the internal rate of return for the first year, and the second year's cash flow will be discounted for 2 time periods. Here n is equal to 2, and we discount it with the same internal rate of return, and for any cash flow at nth time period, so we discount it like this, and then we add them back, we add them all, and if it is equal to initial cash outflow, which is our investment, so then the project can be acceptable. So this is the internal rate of return. And in our example which we quoted in our previous slide, that is the initial cash outflow was 40,000, and for the next 5 years the firm had cash flows of 10,000, 12,000, 15,000, and again 10,000, and for the 5th year 7,000. So अगर हम इनको डिस्काउंट करें at any rate which is internal rate of return, तो इनका sum जो है that should be equal to 40,000. So that rate is internal rate of return. So now let's solve how do we calculate the internal rate of return. Now we can use hit and trial method. We can use any rate of return, and then let's see what is the result. So if we get a result less than the initial cash outflow or more than the initial cash outflow, we will change the internal rate of return accordingly. And let's see how do we change it also. First of all, for 10% and 1 year, we discount it using the present value interest factor table, which is table 2. And do keep in mind, we are considering the single sums of flow at each time period. So if we had an annuity, then we should have used present value table 4, that is table 4, and which considers the annuities. And here these are the single sums, and now we will consider the table 2. And in this case, we calculate the value of the present value interest factor under 10% for the first year, and then again under 10% for second year, and then again under 10% for the third, fourth and fifth year. And we get these figures as a multiplier in this case. If you look back into the appendix of the book, you will see table 2, and the percentages are given on the top, and on the left side horizontally you will see the periods 1, 2, 3 and 4 like this, and then you will come to the interest rate or discount rate of 10%, and then you will look under that for the first, second, third and fourth and fifth period, and all those figures you will multiply it respectively with the cash flows of the respective years, and then when you add them up, you will get a figure which is a little higher than the initial cash outflow. So this is not the internal rate of return. So our internal rate of return should be a little higher than that. अब इसमें higher than that कैसे क्यों होगा? क्योंकि simply if you look into the equation, हमारा जो internal rate of return है, which is in the denominator, अगर हमारे पास denominator में amount ज़्यादा होगी, तो हमारा जो total आएगा, that will be less. You can see here, for example, in this case, we have 10,000 divided by 1.10 in our previous example, 1 plus internal rate of return, which is 10%, so then it becomes 1.10 whole power 1. So, and if we feel कि हमारे पास जो result आया है, it is more than the initial cash outflow, तो it means कि हम अपने denominator को increase करेंगे. इसको हम increase करेंगे तो हमारे पास numerator को divide करने के बाद a lesser value जो है वो आएगी. So then you can see कि अगर हम इसी same numerator को, that is 10,000, अगर हम increase कर दें अपना interest rate to 15% or discount rate to 15%, now in the denominator you can see a figure which is greater than this one. और जब हमारे पास एक greater figure denominator में होगी तो हमारा जो result आएगा, that will be a lesser amount. So in our calculation with 10% we found a figure which is greater than 40,000. So now we'll use a higher interest or discount rate, and then let's see what happens. Let's suppose the discount rate is 15%. So in this case, again the calculation is same. We'll be using table 2 to find out the present value interest factor under 15% for the first, second, third, fourth and fifth years. So it is given under 15%, all the figures for the different periods 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So you will take them as a multiplier here, and you will multiply them respectively, and we will get a figure which is 36,841. So you can see here with 10% discount rate we found a cash outlay which was more than the investment, and with 15% we found a figure which is less than our initial cash outflow. It means कि हमारा जो required rate of return है, that is internal rate of return, lies between 10% and 15%. Now we will be using the interpolation technique जिसको हमने पहले भी discuss किया हुआ है, and we will try to calculate the internal rate of return which is closest to our required rate. And you can see here, we'll write it like this. Using the 10% discount rate, we found out the figure of the present value equal to 41,444. Whereas our required, which is the internal rate of return, it should give us a figure net present value equal to 40,000, which is our investment, which is our initial cash outflow. And we also tried 15%, and we found that the present value becomes 36,841. And now we use the interpolation with the difference with the difference between 10% and IRR. Let's suppose it is X. We have a difference in the present value equal to 1,444. And then again, with the difference between 10% and 15%, we have a total difference in the present value equal to 4,603. Now, we assume ratios between X and 0.05 will be equal to the ratio between 1,444 and 4,603. So we write it like this, that X over 0.05 should be equal to the figure here and divided by this figure. And we calculate it and we get 0.0157. If you solve it for X, you will get X equal to 0.0157. And now to reach it to IRR, from 0.10 to IRR, we have to add the value of X. Now you can see here, the value becomes 0.1157 or 11.57%. So if we use this internal rate of return in our calculations for the present value, then we will get a figure equal to 40,000. So this is the rate where our initial cash outflow becomes equal to the present value of our future cash flows. So this rate will be called as internal rate of return. And what is the criteria to accept an internal rate of return? The management of the firm has determined that the hurdle rate is 13% for project of this type. अब इसमें the new term you see is hurdle rate. Hurdle rate in fact वो मिनिमम डिस्काउंट रेट है जो मैनेजमेंट को एक्सेप्टेबल है. अगर इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न इसके बराबर है या इससे ज़्यादा है, ओनली देन फर्म विल एक्सेप्ट दैट प्रपोजल. सो इन आवर केस हमने जो इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न कैलकुलेट किया है दैट इज 11.57%. एज यू कुड सी इन आवर प्रीवियस स्लाइड, हमारा इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न हर्डल रेट से कम है. सो हर्डल रेट इज इन फैक्ट द मिनिमम रिक्वायर्ड रेट जिसके ऊपर फर्म एग्री करेगी टू गो फॉर दैट प्रोजेक्ट. सो शुड दिस प्रोजेक्ट बी एक्सेप्टेड? नो. द फर्म विल रिसीव 11.57% फॉर ईच डॉलर इन्वेस्टेड इन द प्रोजेक्ट एट अ कॉस्ट ऑफ 13%. हमारे पास जो मिनिमम रिक्वायर्ड रेट ऑफ रिटर्न है दैट इज मोर देन दिस प्रोजेक्ट कैन गिव अस एज इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न. And there are some strengths and weaknesses attached to the internal rate of return. So the strengths are, it accounts for time value of money, it considers all cash flows, like different cash flows at the end of different time periods, and less subjectivity. And also the weaknesses are attached here with it. It assumes all cash flows reinvested at the internal rate of return. इसमें एक प्रॉब्लम यह है कि जो भी कैश फ्लोज हैं दे आर री इन्वेस्टेड एट द सेम रेट ऑफ रिटर्न, वेयर एज द रेट ऑफ रिटर्न, द हर्डल रेट्स, दे मे वेरी अकॉर्डिंगली इन एवरी ईयर. एंड आल्सो द डिफिकल्टीज विद प्रोजेक्ट रैंकिंग्स एंड मल्टीपल इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न्स. अगर मल्टीपल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न्स हैं तो इन दैट केस दिस टेक्निक हैज़ अ वीकनेस. इट इज़ डिफिकल्ट टू फाइंड आउट द आंसर्स इन दिस केस. And now we come to the next important topic, which is known as net present value. So as it is clear, the net present value. So when we calculate the present value of all the future cash flows and we minus out the initial cash outflow, we get the net present value. So I will explain again कि हमारे पास जो future cash flows हैं for at the end of different periods, हम उनको जब डिस्काउंट करते हैं विद अ रेट टू द प्रेजेंट वैल्यू, और उसके बाद हम हर कैश फ्लो की प्रेजेंट वैल्यू को एडअप करेंगे और उसको एडअप करने के बाद उसकी इनिशियल कैश आउट फ्लो में से को उसमें से सब्ट्रैक्ट करेंगे. सो इफ वी गेट अ पॉजिटिव फिगर देयर, so it means the net present value is positive. It would suggest that the management can pursue that project. Or let's see what is given in this examples. The net present value is the present value of an investment project's net cash flows minus the project's initial cash flow. So you can see here the net present value. It is the present value of all the cash flows minus the initial cash outflow. So then you will get a figure with the sign positive or negative. If it is a positive sign, the management might take this proposal or take up this project. और अगर इसके साथ माइनस साइन है, it means कि initial cash outflow जो है उसकी amount ज़्यादा है than the present value of all the future cash flows. So the management will not take this project. And how do we solve the example we considered in our previous slides? For the net present value, we take the hurdle rate as the minimum required rate as our discount rate in this case, and then we see what is the situation of net present value. So our firm for our previous example has determined that appropriate discount rate for this project is 13%. So we discount the future cash flows using 13%, and you will see here we calculate it using the table 2, and under 13% for periods 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, you will find out the multipliers for all these cash flows. And you can see here when you solve the problem, it will take this shape. That is, the initial first year's cash flow will be multiplied with the present value interest factor with a discount rate of 13% for first year, and the same discount rate for the next 5 years will be used respectively for the cash flows. And we get the multipliers for each cash flow, and we multiply them and add them up, and after adding all these figures we subtract them from the initial cash outflow, and we get a negative figure which is 1428. So it means कि net present value जो है, that is minus figure, that is net negative. The project has a negative value and it should not be accepted. The project should be rejected. So in case of net present value, the criteria for acceptance is the management of the firm has determined that the required rate is 13% for the project of this type. And should this project be accepted? No, because the net present value is negative. This means that the project is reducing shareholders' wealth. So the project can only be accepted given that for the given required rate, that is the hurdle rate, uska, when you get a positive sign with the net present value, it is the criteria to be accepted for any project. So like internal rate of return, and it has also payback period, internal rate of return. NPV also has some strengths and weaknesses. So as far as strengths are concerned, cash flows assumed to be reinvested at the hurdle rate and accounts for time value of money and considers all cash flows. And the weaknesses are, it may not include managerial options embedded in the project. और अब इसमें managers की जो options हो सकती हैं, they may ask for some changes and it might require certain changes during the whole procedure, और उसकी जो present values हैं उनके ऊपर उसकी calculation पे उसका impact आ सकता है. And also the hurdle rates, they can be changed at any time, and these options are not included while calculating the net present value. Now we will draw a net present value profile. Using different discount rates, we calculate the net present value, and then you will see what is the internal rate of return, what is the hurdle rate, and how it goes. Let's have a look at here. So for a discount rate equal to 0, it means there is nothing in the denominator. So you will see the net present value is like this. And you simply add up all the cash flows. And then for a discount rate equal to 3%, when you calculate the net present value, you see the sum of cash flows, they are here. And then if you keep on increasing the discount rate, you will see the net present value keeps on decreasing. Okay, so keep in mind the net present value is sum of all future cash flows, present value of all future cash flows minus initial cash outflow, and then you calculate the net present value. So in case of, I will explain again, कि अगर हमारे पास जो discount rate है that is 0%, it means कि in the denominator you will see only 1.0 with power 1 or 2 or 3. So 1 with any power is equal to 1. So the cash flows would remain the same, and when you add them all the cash flows at the present value, so then you deduct it from the initial cash outflow, so you will get this figure. So हमारी example में हमारे पास जो total cash flows हैं, if you add them up, they make 55,000. So when we have a discount rate equal to 0, present value also becomes equal to 55,000. So here, if we have a discount rate equal to 0, the present value, net present value becomes 15,000. That is difference between 55,000 minus 40,000. And then if you increase the discount rate to 3, that is 3%, and you calculate the discount, the present values using 3% as a discount rate for the 5 years, and you get multipliers for each cash flow, and you add them up and then subtract it from the initial cash outflow, and you will get a figure equal to 10,000 at this point. And for the 6% discount rate, you will get a net cash flow equal to net present value equal to this amount. It may be around 6,000. And for the 9% discount rate, when you calculate it, the net present value becomes somewhere around 3,000. And when you reach this point, that is 12%, then you get a discount, a net present value which is negative. So a negative net present value may be equal to -1. So here it is 0, and below, if you go below, there is a minus figure, so net present value goes into minus. So here at 12%, the net present value becomes negative. So it after internal rate of return, जहाँ पे net present value 0 थी, this is the point जहाँ पे ये lines intersect करती है discount rate को. So जिस point पे ये discount rate को intersect करती है, that is the point where we have, जिसको हमने calculate किया था 11.57%. So this is the internal rate of return where you have net present value equal to 0 और आपके पास discount rate 11.57 से कम होना चाहिए. It means कि if you have less than that, only then you will have a net present value equal to positive value. And at 13% जो कि हमारा hurdle rate है, again we have a net present value equal to minus. So then it means at 13% we should not accept any project. So this is known as net present value profile. And the third method, which under the discounted cash flow, we call it profitability index, and also known as PI. PI is the ratio of the present value of a project's future net cash flows to the project's initial cash outflow. अब हमारे पास अमाउंट्स ऑलमोस्ट वही हैं जिनको हम डिफरेंटली ट्रीट करेंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल नेट प्रेजेंट वैल्यू मेथड में हमने जो फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज डिटरमिन किए थे, प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ ऑल फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज, उसको हम डिवाइड करेंगे विद इनिशियल कैश आउटफ्लो, दैट विल मेक अप आवर प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी इंडेक्स. सो आप इसको इस तरह से देख सकते हैं कि द प्रेजेंट वैल्यू ऑफ ऑल फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज we discount them at our required rate of return K, and we divide it with the initial cash outflow. And then if we get an answer equal to 1, it means کہ denominator میں اور numerator میں the figures they are same. Suppose آپ کے پاس یہاں 5000 ہے اور initial cash outflow بھی 5000 ہے. It means کہ present value of all future cash flows is equal to the initial cash outflow. This is a point where the firm can accept any proposal. And it is better for a project to have a higher profitability index. For example, اگر future cash flows کی present value ہے suppose 6000 and the initial cash outflow is only 5000. So in this case we have a profitability index of 1.2. So this is better for the firm to have a profitability index more than 1. And what happens if you have a profitability index less than 1? Suppose the present value of all future cash flows is 4000 and your initial cash outflow is 5000. So in this case you have a profitability index equal to 0.8. So it is less than 1. So this proposal will not be accepted where the profitability index is less than 1. And you keep in mind the required rate of return will be given to you, and based on that you have to calculate the present value of all the future cash flows, and then you divide it with the initial investment, that is ICO, initial cash outflow, and then you will calculate the profitability index. And the acceptance criteria جیسا میں نے explain کیا. For example, in this case, if the present value is this and the cash outflow is this, then the profitability index is less than 1. So should this project be accepted? No. The profitability index is less than 1. This means that that project is not profitable and it should be rejected. So there are some strengths and weaknesses accordingly. So it is same as net present value, and then it allows comparison of different scale projects, and the weakness is same as net present value because there is nothing difference here, and provides only relative profitability and potential ranking problems. So these are the strengths and weaknesses associated with all these different discounted cash flow techniques. So if we summarize the whole process, what we had in our today's examples, like for an initial cash outflow, we had cash inflows for the next 5 years, and the payback period we calculated for the project was 3.3, whereas the required payback period by the management was 3.5 years. So based on payback period method, the project should be accepted. And if you go to internal rate of return, the project has an internal rate of return equal to 11.47% or 57% if I'm not mistaken. And the hurdle rate, which is the minimum required rate of the management, it is 13%. So here, based on this calculation, this rate doesn't make the present value of the future cash flows equal to the initial outflow. So it means it should be rejected based on this calculation. And at the third point, when we calculated the net present value using the hurdle rate or the required rate of return 13%, we found that the net present value is a negative figure of 1424. It means the project should be rejected. The proposal doesn't have any value to add into the firm's wealth. And also for this hurdle rate of 13% or the required rate of 13%, when we calculated the profitability index, it is 0.96, which is less than the standard of 1, where the numerator and denominator should be equal. So in this case, it is less than the standard requirement. So here again you will reject the project. تو جو ایگزامپل ہم نے زیوم کی اس میں صرف پے بیک پیریڈ میتھڈ کو اگر ہم یوز کریں اونلی دین دا فرم از ایبل ٹو ایکسیپٹ دیٹ. ادروائز فرم کو اپنے ہرڈل ریٹ کے ساتھ یا ریکوائرڈ ریٹ آف ریٹرن کے ساتھ if you use the discounted cash flow method, so then all the methods of discounted cash flow, internal rate of return, net present value and profitability index, all the methods they suggest, the proposal should be rejected. Now let's solve the problems given at the end, and they are relevant to what we studied in our today's lecture. And in problem number 1, let's look at it, that we are given some data about the Lobers Incorporation, and it has 2 investment proposals, and out of that we have make a comparison. And for project A, it is for 3 years. The project has cash flows for the coming 3 years, and in the beginning firm has to pay a cost of 9,000 at time t equal to 0, and then profit after taxes are given, and net cash flows at the end of each 3 periods they are given as 5,000, 4,000 and 3,000. And in case of project B, the initial cost ICO, it is 12,000 and profits are given. Then net cash flows, they are 5,000, 5,000 and 8,000 for the 3 years. So for each project we have to compute the payback period, its net present value and profitability index using a discount rate of 15%. So we will be using 15% and we will calculate for the 3 years the net present value of the different cash flows, and we will compare it. So this is problem number 1, and let's use a timeline and we solve it for the payback period method. So let's draw a timeline for the 3 years, and here it is 0 and 1, 2 and 3. So this is the 3 years, and we have cash flows respectively for each time. That is, initially the firm paid $9,000 as a investment, that is the initial cash outflow, and then recovered at the end of every year for the next 3 years $5,000 and then $4,000 and $3,000. So you can see here the firm is going to recover its funds in the time period, that is first year the cash flow inflows is 5,000, and if we look at the cumulative cash flows for the first year and then in the second year cumulative cash flow would become 9,000. So it means firm is going to recover all of its cash flow at the end of second period. So the payback period is equal to 2 years in this case, and this is for the project A. And what if project B? Again, let's draw it on a timeline. We have periods 0, 1, 2 and 3, and respectively we have cash flows, that is initially there is a cash outflow of 12,000, and then for the first year it is 5,000, second year again 5,000, and third year it is 8,000, and the firm is going to recover all of its initial cash outflow. As you can see here, if you take the cumulative cash flows, the first year 5,000, second year it will become 10,000. Now the payback period lies between the second and the third years. So after second year, that is in the third year, the firm is going to receive all its initial cash outflow. So what is the balance that needs to be recovered? It is 2,000. So let's solve it like this. For 2,000, the firm has a cash flow of 8,000 in that year. So it means 2,000 over 8,000, the firm is going to recover it in a period of 0.25. That is the 2 years and 0.25. that is total payback period is 2.25 years. So if you look at the payback period, so you might see the project A is more favorable for the firm to take it up. But you can't make your final judgment based on this information. You have to make some more calculations as well, and also you have to look at the cash flows after the payback period. And now we are going to calculate the net present value for all these cash flows given the discount rate equal to 15%. You can see here the K is given as 15%, and we have to find out the net present value of both of these projects. So in case of project A, we have number of periods, and then we have cash flows, and then we calculate the the present value of all these cash flows, present values of cash flows. So let's start with our calculations here. For at time t0, the cash outflow is 9,000. The present value of 9,000 is of course 9,000. So you see 9,000 as a present value, that is a cash outflow, and then at the end of period 1 the cash flow is 5,000. There is a cash inflow, so this is a positive figure. So now we have to calculate the present value of this cash flow. So how do we calculate it? We use the present value table that is given at the end of the book. So in the appendix you will see the table 2. We are going to calculate a present value of a single sum, and we have an required interest rate, discount rate equal to 15% for the first year. So, and this calculation is in fact the calculation for this figure of 1 over 1 plus 15%, which is with power 1 for the first year, so which is equal to 1 over 1.15. You can simply use a calculator to solve it, but we'll have some practice using this appendix table as well. So in the table 2 you have a required rate, that is discount rate, equal to 15%, and then under 15% for the first period you will see an amount mentioned as 0.870. So the present value for 15,000 will be equal to 5,000 into 0.870, and then for the second year the cash flow is 4,000. And now this is the second year, so now you will have the calculation for 1 over 1.15 with power 2, that is, you can see here, that is 1 over 1.15 with power 2, and if you calculate it using your calculator you will get the same answer as it is given here in the appendix table. Under 15% for the second year it is 0.756. So the present value of 4,000, which is going to be received after 2 years, it is the multiplier of 4,000 and 0.756. And then for the third year the cash flow is 3,000, and the present value would become 3,000 into discount rate of 15%, and under that discount rate for the third year, that is 1, 2, 3, under 15%, 0.658. Now the multiplier is 0.658, and if we solve for all these figures you will get an amount equal to, let's solve it using the calculator. Okay, now we'll use calculator to solve for these calculations. And for the first year, the present value of $5,000 of cash flow would become, with a discount rate of 15%, equal to $4,350. That if you have $4,315 today, with the interest rate of 15%, after 1 year you will have 5,000. So for that 5,000 we have that reversal calculation to get back to our present value. And then for the second year's cash flow of 4,000, you multiply it with the discount factor of 0.756, you will get 3,024. And for the third year, the cash flow is 3,000, and multiply it with the discount factor, which is 0.658. You have 1,974. And now we are concerned with calculating the net present value. So the net present value will be the sum of all these cash flows we have here. So if you add them up, that is 9,000 is a minus figure here, plus 4,350 plus 3,024 plus 1,974, you will get 348 as a positive figure. So it means the project is acceptable, but we have to calculate for the project B that which project is giving net present value higher than in both of these projects. So now let's solve it for project B. We have cash flows for different time periods. That is, initially there is a cash outflow of 12,000, and then for each respective year we have a cash flow of 5,000, 5,000, then 8,000, and then these are the cash flows under different time periods. Now we calculate the present value of all these cash flows, and for this figure we have it as it is. And for the first year's cash flow, we'll have the same calculation as in our previous slide, because the cash flow is same in case of 5,000. So we have 4,350, but here the calculation will not be same. We have 5,000 for the second year. So now we have to look into the discount factor, which is the same, which will be same because we have an interest factor of 15%, discount rate 15%. So we have a multiplier of 0.756 here. So we have a multiplier of 576, and we calculate it equal to 2,880. And for the third year's cash flow of 8,000, we have a multiplier. It will be the same as of our previous lecture slide, 0.658. It will be same as our previous slide. So you will calculate it by multiplying 8,000 with 0.658. We have 5,264. So you can solve it more clearly by putting up here one more column here, that is making it like this, and putting all these figures here. This will come here, and also this figure will come here, and you will get the net present value. We add all these figures, that is minus 12,000 plus 4,350 plus 2,880 plus 5,264. So we have a net present value as a positive figure of $494. So here in case of project B, the net present value is higher than project A. So the firm can choose the project B for their investment. And then now we have to calculate the profitability index. So it will be, in case of project A, the profitability index would be the total amount of net cash flows, that is the present value of all the future cash flows. We calculate it by adding up all these figures here, that is 4,350 plus 3,024 plus 1,974, we have 9,348. 9,348, and we divide it with initial cash outflow of 9,000. So we have a profitability index of 1.0386 or 1.04, you can say. So the profitability index is more than 1, so the project is feasible. But if you have options to choose among different projects, then you have to calculate it. And for project B, the present total value of the present values of all the future cash flows is equal to 12,494, and we divide it with the initial cash outflow of 12,000, and we have a figure of 1.041. So this amount is higher, this profitability index is greater than the profitability index of project A. So in this case, as we calculated previously also, project B is more profitable for the firm and can be chosen. And then in the next problem, in problem 1, what criticism may be offered against the payback method? So here, if you look back the payback method, how did we calculate it? For the project A, we have a payback period of 2 years, whereas after that, if you look at the cash flow, which is 3,000, so the cash flows after that payback period method, we don't consider them. And in the case of, if you look at project B, although it has a payback period more than project A, but its cash flows, they are quite convincing after the payback period also. So if you only consider the payback period, you might choose project A. लेकिन अब अगर आप उसको discounted cash flow method पे check करें, so the net present value and profitability index, both, they give you a figures that project B should be preferred over project A. So here you see the payback period method doesn't give you a clear picture as far as the selection of the projects is concerned. And then the third problem is the following are exercises on internal rate of return. So now we have to calculate the internal rate of return, and it is the rate where the initial cash outflow becomes equal to the present value of all the future cash flows. So we have to find out that internal rate of return in all these examples. So in part A, an investment of $1,000 today will return $2,000 at the end of 10 years. What is the internal rate of return? Problem number 3 and part A. And it states that an investment of $1,000 today will return $2,000 at the end of 10th year. What is the internal rate of return? So for an investment of $1,000 today, to bring it back it to present value of 1,000, that is using the internal rate of return for 10 years, we have to discount it with the internal rate of return for the 10th year. And if you look into the present value index table, then if you find out an answer which is equal to almost 0.5, only then you will be able to solve it for the required amount, that is the initial investment. So if you find out any answer which is closer to 0.5 for the period 10, and you go through the table and find out the percentage as the internal rate of return. So if we look into it, we find it out that for the 10th year, a present value interest factor which is quite closer to 0.5, it is 0.508 under 7%. So here the internal rate of return, it should be equal to 7%, and at 7% we have a present value interest factor which is equal to 0.508, and it will give you a slightly higher value. That is, if you solve this equation here, you will get 1016, which is slightly more than the initial investment. So if you increase the discount rate by a slight increase, you can go for the hit and trial, or even you can solve it for 8% and then use interpolation to solve it for the exact calculation, and then you can find the exact or the precise internal rate of return. So this method will give you an internal rate of return which provides the present value of the future cash flow equal to our present outflow, that is the initial cash outflow or your investment. So this is all about this problem, and we have some problems left, and because of lack of time we will try to solve it in our next lecture. So in our today's lecture we studied the following topics, that is the payback period and the methods of project evaluation selection, including its calculation, acceptance criterion, advantages and disadvantages, and focus on liquidity rather than profitability. And we discussed the discounted cash flow methods, where we discussed the net present value, internal rate of returns, and profitability index, and also explain the calculation, acceptance criterion, and advantages of each of the three methods under the DCF over the payback period method. And inshallah, see you in the next lecture. Till then, Assalamu alaikum.